let me show you a few different things that you can do if your thread keeps breaking on your mini sewing machine. So I have the 505 model over here. If yours looks similar to this. So the first most common cause is you simply have basically something wrong with the tensioning mechanism. Basically, it's simply creating too much basically pressure on the thread and it simply breaks. So for most fabrics, for example, if you are sewing jeans or something like that, I suggest you to keep this tensioning wheel at number 4 essentially. So if you, for example, set it at number 9, for example, so again, it's simply too stiff. Basically, it creates too much pressure and simply it will also like ruin your finish overall as well. So also you can observe basically how it actually is the quality of your stitches basically. So see if it actually doesn't pulse it through here, and also if you use, for example, maybe like 2 different like threads, so on each side essentially, also see basically if it doesn't bleed out much. So you see, for example, I have the blue thread on this side and the white on this one, but for most part it's okay, for example. But you see maybe on the top part, so you see the blue is kind of like bleeding through, so that means there is actually tiny bit more tension than it should be essentially. So maybe you can drop it to maybe number 3 basically on that stitch. Again, also this tensioning also kind of depends on the stitches. So as well, for some stitches you need tiny bit more tension, for some a bit less. But again, so as a rule of thumb, for most fabrics, keep it at number 3 or 4 essentially, and it should be okay. So if you're sewing like very thick fabric essentially, so again, simply play around and see basically which this number actually gives you the best results and at which it doesn't breaks. Then the second thing which also can go wrong is basically maybe the thread actually has fallen out somewhere basically along the line. And maybe you simply haven't set up properly this machine. So the most common thing where it simply falls out sometimes is from this number 2 essentially, especially if you manually like do something on your machine. For example, you see it's even like popping out. Sometimes it literally like pops itself out from this number 2 over here, and sometimes you do not even notice it. So this has happened to me a lot of times already, so I think that might be also like a very common cause. So see basically again, especially if you're doing something on this machine, you might not notice that, for example, it has fallen out completely here. Maybe like go on directly like this. So again, if it's like this, then obviously it will completely mess up basically the whole process. It doesn't have like a tension basically, and again, you will have absolute mess there as well. By the way, again, if you want to see how to properly set up this machine, how to properly thread up the thread, you can simply check out my other videos. I have a bunch of more videos about this machine where I show you how to properly set up the top part and also the bottom part. Also, when you set up this machine and also feed it through this slot here, tensioning slot, also you have to actually have your presser foot up. Otherwise, so if you have it down, it won't properly like catch it, and it might also cause some problems. So again, simply check out my other videos if you want to see how to properly set up. And the last thing is there's simply something off with your thread. You're simply using some low quality thread. So basically on these machines, the thread that comes with it, it's really the cheapest stuff you can get really, and it's obviously not the best quality. So it's also not the most strongest one, I would say. So simply try another thread basically as well that is tiny bit more qualities and see if that also helps. Again, very obvious issue there. Anyway, good luck.